Hey, MK, welcome to the show. As a way of getting started, give us a little background
Hey,
on yourself.
thanks, Brian. Thank you so much for having me too. It's great to get to meet you in person, quote unquote, in person. So I'm MK. I'm the head of marketing here now at Alice. And really, what I stand for is all about human to human marketing.
And are you a Bostonian by birth?
Not by birth, but definitely by trade. So I have grown up on the East Coast for most of my life. A lot of folks don't realize this, but newspaper brats move almost as much as military brats. As the newspaper industry has changed so much, I grew up all over the place where my dad worked in publishing and circulation for my whole life. And so we found our way up to upstate New York. We found our way out to Ohio, and like a little boomerang, though, I came right back out here to the East Coast. So I've been in
And
Boston now for about 15 years. Let's say like this is what I call my hometown.
yeah, was he a journalist, or was he in sales or operations, or?
So sales and circulation, so publishing. So he was a publisher for a long time. Started his way actually working in circulation, specifically with distribution, and then just worked his way up to publishing. So he gets to do a little bit of it all. Marketing is a household trade of ours because most publishers have to know the ins and outs of marketing, especially on the localized level.
And is that how you got interested in marketing? Was it just natural?
Honestly, I just tripped and fell into marketing, if I'm being really honest. I cut my teeth in the professional space. I talk a lot about my non-linear journey into the professional world. Higher education, it just wasn't the right place for me. And so I sought out an alternative means for learning, but also getting as much hands-on experience as possible. So I actually cut my teeth in the professional world working at Starbucks, where I learned the ins and outs of people management, process management, change management, retail management, hospitality management. And that really opened my eyes to what was possible for my personal career. I hit an inflection point in that journey where I realized like I could continue working my way through and up into district management. But I realized that there was more out there that I needed to explore. And I took a hiatus. I traveled, like actually packed up my guitar, moved to Spain, taught myself little to no Spanish, but instead taught myself HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Which I then became really valuable as I made my way back to Boston, started working on some website design, and again, fell into an amazing opportunity at HubSpot, where I joined them as a marketing consultant. And then once I got a taste for what really marketing was about, especially in the more modern era of marketing, I was hooked. And so it's been a nonstop wild ride. I took a quick pit stop in people operations, which I'm sure we'll talk about for a second. But yeah, since then, it's just been all about marketing and how I can create better experiences that feel more one-to-one, more relatable for folks.
And what about it appealed to you?
So I honestly think that it was about creating something that was compelling and innovative. Like marketing sits at this beautiful space where we always have to be at least 4 or 5, maybe even 6 steps ahead of the consumer and be thinking about experiences from their perspective. It's not a very insular trade. And so I became fascinated with trying to figure out how people ticked, what got them excited. I was really motivated by what type of copy, what type of design, what type of combination of copy and design were going to compel someone to take action. I also joined the marketing world in a really interesting inflection point as the technology space boomed, and we had marketing automation platforms and tools popping up all over the place. And so with the vast array of tools at our disposal, I found it so fascinating to connect my left brain and my right brain together with a more operational mindset as well as a creative mindset to build experiences that just felt so different and felt very rich with emotion through all of the marketing that I was able to accomplish.
And did you, or why didn't you kind of slide into B2C marketing, which is kind of more on that? Because B2B, it's hard.
It's super hard. And it's funny, before I found my way to HubSpot, I was actually designing websites for B2C businesses.
Okay.
And so that's what I think has made my career what it is today, because of what I learned in B2C and how much B2B needs to beg, borrow, and steal from the consumer driven types of marketing experiences that B2C brands are putting out there. So I'm right now out there trying to help other B2B marketers know what it looks like to borrow from the B2C space, create those for their prospects and customers.
And what do you see most B2B marketers doing wrong?
Relying too much on technology and not their
Yeah.
own creativity. I think it's a blessing and a curse to have so much marketing technology at our fingertips. And the promise that all of this marketing technology held was that we could actually free up time so that we could be thinking about the experience, about the consumer, and about the buyer, so that our experiences could be next level. Unfortunately, I think the technology, instead of us running it, it now runs us. And so I can find that most marketers spend a lot of time trying to build platforms and neglecting the experience. And so I think at one point in time, we had this beautiful blend of marketing being both an art and a science. And now I fear the pendulum is swinging a little too far in the science direction, and we've lost the art of marketing and how to create that next level experience for consumers in B2B.
Yeah, I think people kind of had the objective of getting the email address. And once we have that, then we just churn.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like, well, we really don't need the email address anymore.
You don't,
We can
right?
find anyone's email address.
Everybody has the same information at their disposal in, tools like Zoom Info or Clearbit, right? And so now it's not a matter of finding that contact. We actually even know their intent with intent-based platforms. So we can already tell who's out there, who's in market, what they might be interested in. Now we should be freeing up more time to say, how can we drive more value? How can we give them an experience that's unlike any other, so that they feel compelled to partner with our brand, product, or service?
And how have you done that? Because the classic, ebook, blog post, SEO, that implies that there's already intent. They're not going to find your ebook or your blog unless they search, or it happens to come up in their feed.
Yeah. So I think for us, we first start off with, yes, I think the buyer's journey is really important and knowing where they are in that journey. But for us, we actually start with, what would the ideal experience feel like around the topic that we want to convey? And it's not the experience that like someone would interact with in their 9 to 5. It's actually, what would this person interact with when they're not focused on their work? And what would be interesting or honestly entertaining for them to consume when they're not working, or that they can binge on when they're at work and they just need that mental break. And so we start off by thinking about that first and figure out how to nestle the content in there so that it's entertainment first and educational second. And that has been our success here at Alice, to create marketing that's entertaining first and foremost, with it like subtly, like the education piece just kind of subtly woven in.
And how have you done that? Because I agree. I mean, because entertainment, that gets attention.
Yeah.
But if you don't have education or value or insight or differentiation, then you lose them and you just become funny or novel or interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we're very fortunate at Alice that our product in and of itself is an entertaining experience. We are a platform that enables bonds to be built through gifting in the business space. And by default, it distances folks from this more, I guess, technology-based interaction that many companies have. And we are fortunate enough that our product is just that next level deeper into the experience. And so the way that we approach the work that we are trying to build for our customers, honestly, is about thinking through how can we elevate the experience such that the person feels emotionally connected to what it is that you're doing, and use that emotional connectivity to then forge new ways to build better relationships, and then build momentum through that relationship.
Instead of just technology, what is it? What does it do? How does it work?
Yeah, exactly.
What's it cost?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
And what either channel or medium is working best for you?
Honestly, right now, LinkedIn. And that's part of a very strategic play that we did. And we've seen your content. We love your content. We think it's both the perfect blend of entertainment and educational. And so that's what works well for us in that space. It was a blue ocean strategy for a lot of businesses. I think a lot of personal brands are being built on LinkedIn, but I don't know that a lot of business brands are being built on LinkedIn. And so we saw that as an opportunity, and we really started to take over that space. We really emerged in a market last year around this time, actually, with a LinkedIn takeover to promote an event that we did called Universe. We hosted, it's our annual event. And we started seeing so much content on LinkedIn about everybody's 9 to 5s. And especially in the times at the time of this recording, we're a year out from the first couple of weeks we went into quarantine. And at that time, the 9 to 5 and the 5 to 9, those were all in the exact same space. And so we realized ourselves, we didn't know where one started and where one ended. Yeah. And so we said, let's flip this paradigm. Let's just try something new and different. And let's try to create an immersive experience so people can get to know our 5 to 9s, the things that make us people, right? Not personas, but people, and turn that into an experience for people to want to learn more about who we are as people, not personas. And so that's really where we started to take some root for our brand. We also had employees join in as well and start featuring employees in their 5 to 9s. And that's been a really exciting journey for us to start to build community and audience engagement through LinkedIn by just being authentic. Like, that's what works today. Authenticity and relatability.
Yeah, something that's unique, because a lot of people, they just, oh, look, I made President's Club, or look, somebody sent me some socks. It's like, yeah, okay, thanks, congratulations. But it's like, I don't know if anyone wants to comment other than congratulations on it. It's like, but to learn who the other person is. Yeah,
I would find, I don't know about you, but I would find it so much more valuable to know what that person who got into P Club did to get themselves there. It's not all praise and accolades. Like, that person had to have worked some late nights, had to have thought outside of the box, had to have really dig deep for those days where it felt like that goal was impossible. That's the stuff that people want to dial into, tune into. That's why, even if you look at, streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, like, the things that are performing really well on those platforms are stories where real people are sharing their own life experiences so that people can find relatability and connectivity to others. Like, that's how we're wired as creatures, to find ourselves and find a community and find others that we can relate to. Yeah. And the marketers that learn how to do that are the marketers that are winning today. I mean, you, as a sales persona, are a marketer by trade, by the way that you create such great experiences and stories for people to follow along as you're out there walking around in the neighborhood. Like, that's a really entertaining, it's a little mockumentary and a glimpse into the day in your life.
And that's it. But how, as a marketing person, do you do that with being consistent? Because then you get the marketing side where you got to, make sure you have the brand on it or don't have it on it, make sure it's PC, but not too PC.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough, you have to strike a balance, right? It's a tough balance to strike, and we keep ourselves honest wherever possible. First thing we do is just, we have really calibrated our sniff test of quality and authenticity, because modern day consumers, their sniff test is perfection. They know disingenuous salesy, slimy, manipulative marketing from a mile away. We've been surrounded by it our entire lives. And so that appetite for really good quality, high quality, entertaining based marketing, that appetite is like, they're famished. People are famished for that type of a quality of experience. And so we calibrate our sniff test first, and then we start to think about the experience. And one of the things that we do actually is called Inspo Sesh. Every other week, we meet for an hour as a team. Someone brings a problem to the table. And the only rule of Inspo Sesh is that you just can't say no. And so we just pig pile on the idea until we've got something really big and exciting. And then we work out the mechanics first. And I think that's where most marketers start. They start at the mechanics and then work backward into the idea. We start with the idea and then try to figure out the mechanics. And then the mechanics and the scientific part about it, that's how we know, okay, so what could we expect from an initiative like this? So we keep ourselves rooted in reality, for sure, so that we can keep ourselves on pace to where our goals need to be. But without that first step of like really thinking through the ideation process, whatever you put into the process it's going to be subpar if you don't start off with the idea first.
And how do you either get judged or want to be judged?
That's a good question.
Well, attribution is like what KPIs have ruined sales. Attribution has ruined marketing.
Yeah, I love that. That might be my next tattoo right
here. Hey, that's
actually.
A
video. Yeah. I mean, for us, like we're still young, right, in our maturation of our organization, and so we are in the process right now of like, do we do first touch? Do we do last touch? Do we do weighted? And honestly, the thing that always trumps us before making decision is like, what is the experience and what would success look like because of the experience that we're creating? So we start there. Beyond that, though, I mean, there are so many intangibles that you can't measure, like this concept of share of voice. That's a really tough thing to be able to measure. And so you kind of have to thrive on the anecdotal feedback when you hear like, oh, Alice, oh, you're MK at Alice. And that right there is how you know you've struck the right chord. I think you could probably monitor that in the shares, the likes, the interactions out there on social. And of course, you can watch the one-to-one correlation of the performance on your social media and some of the direct traffic that's coming into your website, because people are learning about your brand and your logo and then quickly going to their browsers and typing in like, what is Alice or who is MK? And so I don't necessarily think that it's as formulaic as most attribution models will allow, but I think marketers need to be okay with the fact that it's not as formulaic as our marketing attribution will allow, because that's what's going to breed creativity and innovation in the marketing experiences today.
And how do you get like the CEO and the board bought into that? Because they're analytical people by nature.
They are. And you do have to have good balance between your left brain and your right brain. Like, this role is not designed for every type of creative marketer. I think the CMO of today needs to be much more horizontally placed along the customer journey. I took a very deliberate and intentional career path through customer marketing after doing my duty in demand generation, so that I actually knew how to monitor and manage both levers of growth and scale in lifetime value with relation to the cost of acquiring a customer. And so once I started understanding how to massage the mechanics of the lifetime value and the cost of acquiring a customer, then that actually helped me free up some mental capacity to think, okay, we're trying to solve for reducing CAC, but increasing LTV. What is the right experience at this inflection point in the customer journey to be able to do that? And that level of like, right, it's like solving a puzzle. It's like puzzle solving. So to get like our CEO, he's very visionary. And so I also realized I come at this from a position of privilege, that like the CEO gets the beauty of a beautiful story, a story really well told, and a vision that's probably not attainable. And that actually helps us keep ourselves, a little bit looser in our marketing org rather than so data centric. I'm also super fortunate that I have a board team that does expect me to know my numbers, to know how to run my book of business, but also expects me to take what we have today, which is our biggest strength is our brand. And the board trusts me with that. Our board says, like, we hear and see this company everywhere. Keep doing it, and let's see how what's falling out the other side of that big brand that you're building for Ellis. And so as long as I can be able to show and demonstrate that this share of voice that we're creating in the market, that this brand that we're building in the market actually has substance to it, that's how I can get the buy-in that I need from the board and the CEO to take the ideas that we have for our brand even bigger and to be thinking more about the experiences along that customer journey in bold new ways.
And so your target, the decision maker, is a sales lead or marketing leader. Is that true?
You got it. Yep.
Yeah. But you don't exclusively market to them.
Not at all. In fact, we have way more fun marketing to the director and management levels, or even the IC levels. We often remind ourselves our job on the marketing team is to make our customers look like rock stars to their customers. And sometimes the definition of that last word, customer, is different, right? Sometimes a marketing manager's customer is not just the prospect that they're marketing to, their customer is also their boss. And so we try to seed in as much informational, educational content as possible so that they can get themselves in front of their boss and say, like, look at the results I drove. Look at the performance I was able to unlock by using this new approach or by using this new idea to reimagine how we think about our campaigns. And so we really start to think more about that, like elevating our customers into that position of a rock star. And that actually gives us like so much room for creativity. And once a CMO starts to see that more of their folks are starting to be thinking more creatively and building these really immersive, almost tactile experiences, then those CMOs are like, okay, what's happening here? Like, where are these ideas coming from? How are you sourcing them? And all roads lead back to Ellis. And that's how we can help them ship up and sell into, you know, their C-suite or in their decision maker suite to free up some of the, you know, the budget for something like Ellis.
Now, you know, from my perspective, which is mostly sales, but probably for the last 5 years, it's probably been mostly marketing, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I would agree.
it has been, but you know, the problem that you solve, I would market that problem because that problem is real.
Yeah.
Everyone has it, big, small, medium. But
What's so interesting about that problem is that, especially a lot of the marketing and sales technology platforms that are out there, we're all saying we're solving the same problem, right? More leads, more pipeline, like faster sales cycles.
But most of them are just doing dumb things faster. You're trying to do a smart thing well.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I completely agree.
Yeah. But how do you convey that when everyone wants to do dumb things faster?
So we also had to stay disciplined as a marketing team around quality over quantity.
Yeah.
And so we use that as our due north, and we help to solve that problem, especially for our prospects and customers. This is one of the first organizations I've ever worked on where our marketing team jumps on lots of sales calls so that we can actually help breed creativity and already make strategic investments in the relationships of the people that we want to do business with, so that they can see the tone, the pace at which we run at our problems and how we solve for quality over quantity. Now, that's not a very scalable problem. We know that today, right? And so the way to scale that is to help continue to reinforce and educate our sales reps and sales force so that they can also be strategic marketing consultants throughout the buying process. Other ways that we help people solve for quality over quantity is like giving them permission to say, like, this doesn't scale, and that's okay, right? Like, this marketing idea that you have, it doesn't scale, and that's beautiful, because that means that you're finding a new way that technology today doesn't solve for, and that other sales or marketing automation platforms can't solve for.
And do you see like a tipping point or a network effect happening in the near future? Because this is typically what you see when all of a sudden people get it, that the hounding people to get a begging for 15-minute meeting is not the way to do it in most markets.
Yeah.
That when either people use it or they get it. There's an epiphany.
Yeah, I think this one has been a tougher one for us to be able to solve, is that like more doesn't equal more. In fact, less equals more.
Yeah.
And getting people to realize that we talk a lot about this in our pitch, where like in the 80s had it right. For all the flaws that we have, we didn't really have like regulations on seatbelts back then, but we did have good experiences in selling. In the 80s, it was all about who you knew. It was about the relationships that you had. And you use those relationships to do business with the folks you wanted to do business with. And if you even go way, way back to like door-to-door sales folks, you know, you could see when you would walk in the house, you would see so much about someone's life and be able to build relatability and authenticity and connection with that person that you're selling to. I think the rise of technology and automation has actually distanced us from like what it means to actually be human with one another. And I think even if you look around, the people who spend time building bonds with the people that they do business with, those are the folks that are making the impact. Those are the folks who are getting the accolades, you know, and the praise out there on LinkedIn. It's not about cutting corners. It's about being real. It's about being a human and caring about the person on the receiving end of your marketing and selling motions.
Because we thought getting the contact information was the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
That's part of the problem. The real problem is they don't know, like, or trust you.
Bingo. Yeah. Trust. That's the key word there.
Not just attention. Trust.
It's not attention. Yeah. Like it's not about just trying to get in front of someone, right? It's about how you've gone about getting that barrier to entry, which is trust. And we call it like expediting the triple T, so the time to trust. So how quickly can you expedite that time to trust by just slowing down and focusing on the one person that's in front of you? Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Cool. Hey, this has been a great conversation. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
So if you want to come hang out with me, fortunately, there are very few of us Gettlers, and there's only one MK Gettler.
With a guitar.
With a guitar and a surfboard and my friend over here. But yes, you can find me on LinkedIn at just MK Gettler. And I'm very fortunate, like I said, all my social media handles are the same. So you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Snapchat, whatever you want, at just MK Gettler.